Shaul adores David. His son loves him. And now we're learning about it's time to prize David with giving him his daughter in marriage. Yet, the more David becomes a success story, what's happening to Shaul? Ruach Ra'ah is eating him up inside. This evil spirit is full of jealousy to the extent that not only is he thinking of shtuyot, foolish things to do, but yesterday, as David is playing the harp, in David's hands is the harp, in Shaul's hands is the sword or the spear, the chanit, and Shaul makes 2 attempts to kill David, and he's living in a contradiction. On the one hand, he's presenting himself as if he's going to hit the wall, but on the other hand, he's really aiming for David. And how does David he moves this way, he moves that way? It's clear to the eyes of Shaul that Hashem is with him. But not only that, now that he's trying twice to kill him, he has more fear because he sees how David is so attached to God and God is attached to him. Shaul has an idea. If I can't eliminate him with my own hands physically, let me appoint him as the head of the army. But what happens? Every time he goes out to war, David is successful. And then we learned about how the women of Israel, in their praise of Shaul and David, how does Shaul accept the fact that David is greater than I? So in the back or in the front of the mind of Shaul, is that maybe he's the next one to be king. And it's eating him up alive. As part of this difficult contradiction, psychologically, how to understand this, Shaul reaches a new level where we see that there's really hatred now to David. From jealousy to causing trouble, and now to hatred. But fear and hatred at the same time. We saw yesterday, at the end of our learning in verses 17 and 18 and 19, that Shaul right now is ready to bring David into his family, make him his son-in-law, Chatan, to make him his son-in-law. And he's ready to give him, of course, his oldest daughter. Isn't that what he promised in reward for anyone that goes out to fight Goliath? So at the same time, he loves him, but at the same time, he would prefer to have him dead because he thinks he's going to take the kingdom. But he's hoping that as the son-in-law, he knows he won't be able to touch him. But maybe if he goes to war against the enemies of Israel like the Plishtim, he will be finished. What was David's reaction to take his daughter, Meirav, the oldest daughter, in marriage? There's not a refusal, but rather there is humility. Mi anochi, umi chayai, mishpachat avi b'Yisrael. How can I take such a prominent family in marriage? Who am I to marry the daughter of royalty? To be the chatan of the melech? So now we see something very difficult that we started seeing yesterday, but let's develop the answer. The time is coming. The caterer is ready. The photographer is ready. The flowers, they're ready. The hall has been rented out. Invitations have been sent. What do we see in verse 19? Vayi be'etet et Meirav bat Shaul leDavid, v'nitna la'adriel ha'mecholati l'isha. Who doesn't show up for the wedding? His wife. Meirav in Pasuk 19 Yutet doesn't show up. Why? Because she's married. What? She's married to another person called Adriel. Who is he? We don't know. How good is he? We have no idea. Who married her off? That also the Tanakh doesn't tell us. Okay? Yudchet. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nהיה bidvaro. There are a few ways how to explain this peculiar matter. The fact that the Tanakh hides the identity of who married her off is pointing to a very difficult situation. It could be that Shaul married her off to another man. And why? Because as the time came closer, I want to make a little more room this way. As the time came closer to marrying Meirav to David, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He's hating him right now. He cannot stand him right now. How can I marry him to my daughter? It's a contradiction. Or, because of divine management, it worked out that she married someone else. She backed out. Maybe she backed out. Look, I know you have to be blind to know that Shaul's not getting along with David. How can I, the daughter of my father, marry someone that my father is even trying maybe to kill, God forbid? How can I do it? So maybe she took the initiative herself. It doesn't make sense for me to be married into David, that's someone that my father hates. Okay. So apparently she was not engaged. According to this meaning, she was not engaged. But you know, the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin talks of two opinions. That if she was engaged, Kiddushin was given, right? Kiddushin is engagement in the language of the Mishnah. That the Kiddushin was a mistake. Why? One opinion says, HaMikadesh b'milveh lo mikudeshet. He promised to marry her to David. It's like a loan. I'm obligated to marry my daughter to him. And I'm wavering money. I don't have to accept money. In fact, it's like a loan. I'm accepting it for no money. And the time is passing and passing. And it's as if David is marrying Meirav with the obligation name that the father-in-law gave. That's called a Mikadesh b'milveh. It's like a loan. And Shaul is wavering the payment of the loan. Usually, the man that marries a woman, he pays money. He marries her, kesef kiddushin. But here, it's a promise on the side of Shaul. So that promise is like a term of an account called a loan. And he's wavering the payment of the loan. I'm going to marry her to you. You don't have to pay me money. So some say, Mikadesh b'milveh lo mikudeshet, which explains why she really wasn't married. Whatever's clear, she's now gone. She's married to someone else. What happens in the background? Pasuk Kaf. V'te'ehav Michal bat Shaul et David. There's another daughter. And this daughter's name is Michal. She's bat Shaul. She's royalty. And you know what? She has an adoration, an appreciation for who David is. Vayagidu l'Shaul. People tell Shaul that Michal loves David. Now this is the only place in the Tanakh that we see the opposite of what it usually says. It usually says that the man loves the woman. The man is proposing to the woman. The man is going after to marry the woman. This is the only place in the Tanakh we see the opposite. That she is the one that has appreciation, admiration, love for David, and that will be grounds for marriage. Shaul is found out, they tell him, Vayishara davar, well, that's a great idea. Why? Because in the back of his mind, he also loves David. It's like a big contradiction, a mental contradiction. He loves David, he can't stand David, because he's afraid of that David's going to take his place in being king. Pasuk Aleph, Vayomer Shaul, meaning to his heart, Etnenalo, I'm going to marry her off to him, Utihilo lemokesh, and this marriage will be for David like a mine, an explosion, a stumbling block. Utivo yad plishtim, By definition, if he's going to marry into royalty, he's going to have a very high position in the army of Israel. And you know what? He's going to probably, there are clashes apparently going on between the Plishtim, their army, and the Israeli army. And the greater he's going to fight, the greater the chances he's going to die. Vayomer Shaul David b'shtayim titchatein bi ayom. A very difficult term that the First Shipment had difficulty explaining. What does it mean b'shtayim titchatein bi ayom? So Rashi says, look, it's obvious. By the way, can it mean that he's going to marry both daughters? B'shtayim. Once Shaul marries a daughter, his sister by definition is Achot Ishto, right? The name of the prohibition is called Achot Ishto, and she would be a Gitz Gilui Arayot. He's not allowed to marry her. So what does Shaul mean? I mean, Shaul he knows halacha. So Rashi says, if you have Rashi, you can see down below, Shtei Banot Yeshli. Exactly. Bechat Mehem Titchatein, V'chein Tirgem Yonatan, Bechada Mitrein. One of two. You know what the Israelis call a multiple choice examination in the school system? Mivchan Amerikai. It's an American examination. So that's what Shaul is giving David. You have a multiple choice examination. I have two daughters. The only question is, how can he maybe realizes one daughter it couldn't do. So now maybe b'shtayim, another meaning could be marry the second one. Bashniya. Shtayim is marry the second daughter. Maybe that's what really Rashi means as well. It's not choose one of the two. So maybe I go back what I said. It's not marry one of the two. You marry the second one. You couldn't marry the first one. She's now gone. She's married to someone else. So you see, my dear friends, at the same time there's love, yet he'd be very happy that he dies in a war. Pasuk Kav Bet. Vayitzav Shaul et avadav. Now notice, from here on, I want you to notice the way of communication between Shaul and David. Vayitzav Shaul et avadav, verse 22. Dabru al David balat. Secretly, quietly, speak with him, saying, Hinei chafetz becha melech. The king desires you. V'chol avadav vayvucha. And all my administrative servants, everyone else, they all adore you. V'ata, and now hitchaten b'melech. Okay, marry into royalty. Okay, so here through a shaliach, Shaul is asking David, marry my daughter. Pasuk of Gimel. Okay, but you notice that it seems that he's very adamant in having David marry into his family. More than the last time. The last time, I know they put out invitations, but it seems right now that he's making such a great effort. Okay? Such a great effort. The question is, why is he making such a great effort? It could be he sees that David no longer believes in him, that he's not in him, and he's not worthy to marry into this family. Therefore, he wants other people to talk to David and persuade him. He's using his shlichim, his servants, his administrative, his legal aides, whatever. He was commanding them to strengthen David's desire that he can marry into the family. And it's not because of him that the marriage went down for Meirav. Something happened, who knows? She went ahead and she decided, I'm not making you a fool. Pasuk of Gimel. Vayidabru avdei Shaul beoznei David et advarim ha'ela. You notice? They go ahead and they speak with David. They try to persuade him. He wants you to marry his daughter. He's serious about this. David's response. Vayomer David. Hanikala ve'einechem hitchaten b'melech v'anochi ish rash ve'nikle. What is the response of David? What is hanikle? What is it? Light? Something cheap in your eyes to marry into royalty? In the king of Israel? That's one point. Further, Anochi ish rash. David's home is impoverished. They're on welfare. They don't have abilities to support themselves. They're and royalty. Royalty. You know what it costs for a meal at the royal palace. You know the kind of tuxedos they rent. You know the type of food that they're using there. Wow. My wife, one of her girlfriends called her up last night. Her daughter's getting married. I think she's one of the friends of one of our daughters the same age. So much, I don't know, 26, 27. In Israel, usually what you do is you go to this salon and you see, for a wedding dress for a girl, and what you do is you rent the wedding dress. Now there are all types of prices. The girl, she's renting a dress for one night. It's a few thousand shekels. Well, but what's the problem here? The mother calls up my wife and she says, my daughter has very, very expensive taste. She wants to choose this dress that costs for the rental 10,000 shekels. What do I do? She takes advice. What do I do? It sounds ridiculous. So what does she answer? You're right, it's ridiculous. But you know what? That's what she wants. You're going to have to foot the bill. Because that's something you can't argue with a girl that's to be married. That's what she wants. But that's, she's like a royal taste. David says, I am impoverished. I have nothing. Okay? Now, not only does David say, I'm Aleph, unwealthy, but I'm Venikla, I'm also unrespected. I have no assets. Okay? It's interesting. Did David say this last time when he was to be married to Meirav? He didn't say such a thing. Okay? It's not understood that he's saying this now and didn't say it before. I don't have an answer. If someone has an answer, please tell me and share with me why he's saying this now. In any event, this is the message that David is telling who? He's telling this message to Avdei Shaul. That's what he's saying. He's telling this message to Avdei Shaul. Now the question, do they take the message, go back to the king and say, the wedding's off. He has no money. He can't foot the bill. He can't pay 50% of his half of the wedding, right? That's what usually happens. The families make an agreement. You pay 50. You pay for your guest. I pay for my guest. We'll split the orchestra. We'll split the cameraman, the video man, and so on and so forth. The tips, I'll let you take care of it. To give the bartenders dishing out the wine, the tip. My friends, what do they say? Pasuk Avdal, Vayagidu Avdei Shaulo Lemor Kadvarim Ha'eleh Tiber David. They go back to the king. He's not called the king, he's called Shaul. We see that time and time again. He's not called the king, but
he's called king by the servants.
Yes, you're right. Tidchaten b'melech. He's saying himself, calling the melech. But here Shaul now is told the bad news. I don't come from a wealthy family. I'm not a respectful person. David is showing a lot of humility plus poverty. What does Shaul say about monetary matters? Pasuk Kafei, verse 25. Okay? Vayomer Shaul ko tomru leDavid. This is what you have to go back and tell. Notice, Shaul knows that he's not won the faith, sincerity of David. David is suspecting him, and Shaul knows this, and Shaul, therefore, there's no direct contact. He's far away from him. They're sending messengers. Ko tomru leDavid. Ein chefetz lamelech b'mohar. Okay? The king has no what? Desire. Mohar is what is mohar called in English? It's all the gifts that you would give to an engaged girl as a chatan, a dowry. The king, right? Yeah. The king has no desire in a dowry. You know why? I'm not interested. In other words, he's telling him that money is not a matter. Money is not a matter. Okay? Why? Because who does have money? Shaul. And I'll take care of all these monetary matters. I'll take care of all these matters. In other words, Shaul is saying, Mechila, I am, what is it called? I am pardoning your ability not to pay her any money. He may not even have, a penny to his pocket to Mikadesher. And so there's a discussion in the Gemara. If you give Mechila to the man marrying your daughter, there's complete pardoning that you don't have to pay me. Can you marry a woman where the woman and her family are pardoning, acquiescing, saying it's okay, you don't have to give us any money whatsoever? So there's a discussion in the Gemara if you can marry someone with the enjoyment of the fact that you don't have to pay her anything. That's called mechila. Okay? In any event, I'll take care of the money matters. What should you marry my daughter with? Ki b'me'ah or lot plishtim linakem be'oivei hamelech. Wow. If you go to war against the enemies of the king and you obviously kill the enemy and you collect 100 foreskins. Wow. It sounds like it's an offense against the Geneva Convention for international wars. Ken? V'Shaul chashav lapil et David bi'aplishtim. Shmuel the prophet, who's writing the Sefer, is getting prophecy from God what to write here. God knows what's inside the mind of Shaul. If you're going to try to fight soldiers, and you're going to try to, let's say, kill them, and then cut off this part of the body, and bring 100 back, you may be successful, 1, 2, 3, 4, but while you're doing this, you might be caught up. There might be sharpshooters in the area, and Shaul's hope is that what? He's going to die. Because, look, let's face facts. When we fight a regular war, and we kill the enemy in the regular way, you're not going to arouse any more hatred than usually you arouse between two opposing entities, Israel and the Plishtim. Okay? But the Malbim explains, if the enemy falls with disrespect, with despicable things done to them above and beyond what naturally happens, then what's going to happen to the motivation and desire of the enemy? They will want to get back at you even more, with more motivation. Okay? And therefore the Plishtim will save every resentment and hatred that they have until they plot to kill David. Okay? So it's interesting that this is the offer. You know what? Don't money. I'm taking care of money. You marry her by killing and bringing 100, or the word killing doesn't state here, but bring me back 100 or lot. The messengers go back. Pasuk Vav. Vayagidu avadav leDavid et advarim eila. Does he agree or not? Look at this. Vayishar hadavar beinei David litchaten b'melech. David agrees. David agrees to this condition, that the marriage will be based upon the enjoyment that the recipient, in this case the father, will get by receiving 100 or lot. Isn't that amazing that he's agreeing to this? Now, let's face a fact. David is accepting marriage and he's marrying to royalty. David also knows that he has been anointed to be the next king. Could this be the action that will bring him into the light of becoming king? It's not if David wants to become king or not. God wants him to become king. He just doesn't know when will in fact take place. Could it be right now that David has so much trust in God that maybe this is the way in order to begin his royalty? Raising up the beacon of light of David and his family, that he's now going to become the son-in-law of quote-unquote the former king. maybe that's the Ashar Be'inav. Okay? Now, the only setback for this is that the ends are serving the means. The end, the objective is to become king. And the means here is to marry Michal. That's the only setback in understanding this matter. But maybe there are times that the ends justify the means. What happens? The last three words of the pasuk, Velo mal'u hayamim. What does that mean? Velo mal'u hayamim? What does it mean? Apparently there was an agreement made. It's not going to bring you back 100 or load, you're not going to get 10 years to do it. Apparently, Shaul set a limit of time. And if you do this within this limit of time, you're married to my daughter. What did David do? No, he did. Velo mal'u ayamim. Not only did he succeed, but he did it earlier than the time allotment he was given. Wow. How did he do it? Kav Zayin, we can read it, that the Tanakh is written klal and prat. First the klal, we just read in 26, and now the detail. Okay? David is so zariz, he's so quick, that he preceded the time in bringing back 100 orlot. Plishtim before the time limit. How did he do it? Kav Zayin. Vayakom David, vayelechu va'anashav. Meaning the special units. David is head of the special units as appointed by Shaul. Vayavei David et orlotehem, vayimal'um lamelech, litchaten ba'melech. And the result is, vayiten lo Shaul et Michal bito liisha. My dear friends, in the Gemara, there's a difference of opinion. How he went ahead and did it. Did he strike and kill and then remove that part of the body? Or did he just strike, injure, and then he just cut off the orlot? Okay? I'm not going to get into, there's a nafkamin and halakha, by the way, I'm not going to get into these matters because there's a question, if we kill idolaters, okay? The Plishtim apparently are idolaters. Can you or not get benefit from the body of idolaters? Okay? There's an entire discussion in the Gemara, and if we reach Yoredea, Siman Shin Mem Tet, it's spoken about it. It's an interesting subject. If we get time, maybe to do it. But two opinions: either he killed them, or he injured them and took off these parts of the body. Whatever you look at it, vayimal'um lamelech, meaning he brought them, but it's through a shaliach. Interesting. Just like there's been a shlichut here between Shaul and David, they're not seeing one another. They're already no longer speaking terms one to the other. So too, Shaul provides it, Vaymalum la melech, with the la, is apparently the Mefarshim are explaining that through a shaliach, he sends them. And now, Mazal Tov, he's married. What does Shaul see in light of the wars that David is fighting, how he did this, providing the impossible, 100 orlot? Okay, what does he see? By the way, it says here in Kav Zayin that not 100, but he provides even 200. In other words, not only is he paying for the Kiddushin, but he is providing a tip.
Oh, it's so bad.
You don't like that? Okay, I'm sorry.
It was good, but
Okay. He's providing a doron, a gift. He's providing a gift to Shaul. That's what Vayimalum means here, that he does 200 and he's providing a doron, a gift to the Melech, La Melech. Pasuk Avchet, as we come to the finale of the chapter, the last 2 psukim. Vayar Shaul vayeda. Ki Hashem im David. Umichal bat Shaul ahevatu. Wow. Vayar. What did Shaul see? What did Shaul see? What do you think, or do you remember, understand, what was really the strategy of Shaul? Asking David to marry his daughter by collecting 100 orlot. What was behind his mind? What was the real strategy? That David would be killed. Was Shaul successful in his strategy? Absolutely not. Lo tzliach. He was not successful to bring about the passing away, the death of David. So now, Vayeda ki Hashem in David. There were times that we notice that Hashem is with him, but never did it state Vayeda. I think the Torah, the Tanakh told us that God was with David. God is with Haya Hashem imo. Here, it's absolutely clear like daylight that what? Hashem im David. To who is it clear? To Shaul. He thought about it, he suspected it, but now it's obvious, so clear. He has now what we call a yidiyah brua, a very clear knowledge that God is helping out David all the time, and not me. Pasuk Kaftet. Now we'll see this for the first time. Vayosef Shaul le'rob mipnei David od. Fear reaches even new heights and new levels, and now we see something for the first time. Vayi Shaul oyev et David kol hayamim. We did not see this beforehand. We saw that he's dealing with admiring him and being jealous of him, loving and not loving, but hatred. So right now he's reached a new level of evil, unfortunately. Jealousy is eating his heart. He sees David as someone that is a threat to his life, to his kingdom. We all know that David is not running. He's not pursuing after power, after honor. He gives respect to Shaul. Remember, he adores Shaul. He gives him respect to him. He's been saving his life by playing music, getting him out of the doldrums. Okay? Clearly, we see the special attributes of David. We asked the question yesterday, how is it that David remains playing the music in front of the second attempt of killing him? What? After he throws the spear at him, get out of there, what are you doing there? So we see that David is so unique that he can still love someone that's even trying to kill him. Gentlemen, it's not an easy thing to marry a woman that the father hates you. David is very sharp. He knows that he hates him. David is sharp. He knows that maybe this is a targil, an exercise in the first marriage, that Meirav was married off to someone else. And now, let me ask you something. If it's Shaul hates David, do you think Michal knows about this? There's likelihood that Michal knows that her father cannot stand David. Yet, and this, by the way, adds more fear and more distance between Shaul and David. And that every success that David is making, he's like getting closer and closer to having the kingdom for him. So this is an amazing thing. The love that David can have for Michal even, in spite that Michal knows that her father hates him. And here it says a novelty. Vayishul oyev David kol hayamim. Until now, you know this expression, one day is a good day, the other day, what's the expression in Hebrew? Yom sababa, I forgot the expression in Hebrew. One day is a good day, the other day is a terrible day. I forgot the expression in Hebrew. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yom sababa, I forgot. Here, there was one good day, David would have with Shaul, one bad day. But here it says, Kol hayamim. Instead of midei pam, Shaul hating or not liking David, here it's every day. From now on, that's it. He cannot tolerate him. It's kavua, as the Malbim explains on the words Kol hayamim. The end of the parak, Vayitzu sarei flishtim. Vayim midei tzeitam sachal David mikol avdei Shaul vayikar shemo meod. Look, the tribe of Yehuda borders Ashdod, Ashkelon, and there are border clashes that are happening between the Plishtim and between Israel. And a lot could be that they go into our farms and they steal things. And it's the present border. We have not yet conquered all of Eretz Yisrael proper. Some of you maybe heard that if we have frontier matters, economic frontier matters with our enemies, are you aware that halachically we're allowed to be mechalel Shabbat, to go to them and strive with them and fight with them? Because now it's economic matters. But if you don't overcome the economic matters, they're going to take away the land of Israel. That's how we learn it from the Gemara, and it's paskin this way in the Shulchan Aruch. Right now, it could be that they're trying to go out and take as much monetary matters from fellow Jewish people. But what happens every time they go out? Who invades them? Who bothers them? Who intervenes? David. And we use the word again, sachal, from the word, we saw it before in the beginning of the chapter. David is matzliach. Of all the warriors that Israel has, and we have warriors, David is the most successful one at all. And what is the result? Vayikar shemo meod. Vayikar shemo meod. Whose name is very dear? Whose name is very dear? In the eyes of who? It could be that. What about?
Or maybe even
maybe it could be the Plishtim. There's a Midrash Shmuel, Sefer called Midrash Shmuel, that says Vayikar Shmo Ma'od B'Halacha. David became a greater halachic expert as time passed. How could it be? The Plishtim heard that David married into royalty. They thought now is the best time to do what? Let's jump on Israel, go to war, so we can destroy the first man of royalty, which is David right now. Why? Because the Plishtim found out that it's written in our Torah that a chatan has a 1 year mitzvah for what? Regarding his wife? V'simach et ishto shana echat. The Torah says, and a chatan who's marrying, he shall rejoice his wife for 1 full year. It's a pasuk in Dvarim Kav Dalet Hey. The Torah says, Ki kach isha chadasha, lo yetzeh batzava. If he marries a new wife, he should not go out to the army. Nakiya leveito. He has to be clean in his house. Shana echat. It's just the problem. The Plishtim were only reading the written Torah, the Torah Shebichtav. They don't know what the Torah Shebal Peh says. What does the Torah Shebal Peh say regarding that if you marry, you're exempt from the army, from going to war 1 year? We're talking about Milchemet Reshut, a non-mandatory war. But a war which is what? Milchemet Mitzvah, and the war against the Plishtim, which is about Eretz Yisrael proper. Certainly, we are allowed to go to war. They didn't know that. So Milchemet Mitzvah, what does the Gemara say? Hakol Yotze, we all go out. We all go out and fight. Vayikar Shemo Ma'od. He knows halacha. The Plishtim do not know halacha. So we can summarize and say 2 great things have happened in this chapter. David's name goes in front of him. Every time he goes on a clash, a military clash, he's successful. He's matzliach. It's written 3 times in his chapter, Pasukei, Yudalit, and Lamed. And furthermore, what is deepening in the heart of Shaul, the jealousy, is mentioned so many times that he's jealous, that he's oyein, he has an ayin hara on David, and now finally we see that he's even an oyev. What will happen after this? We'll continue tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem.